session. Again, teacher and the curriculum. Let's start. Ms. Clarissa, please. Number 1. Please take note of the numbers kasi nga my items are mixed. For profit, 1, to upgrade teaching and learning, this will be necessary. A, outcome-based curriculum. B, planned document. C, participation by stakeholders. And letter D, vision, mission, and core values. Ms. Clarissa, can you help po sa may nakaharang na parang black? Thank you. Again, question, if management approach to upgrade teaching and learning, this will be necessary. Necessary raw if we will have a school-based management approach. Can you write your answer or letter of your answer in the chat box? Is it A, outcome-based curriculum, B, planned document, C, participation by stakeholders, or D, vision, mission, and core values? Actually, isa itong mahirap na question. Kasi nga, everything is important. Diba? Yung outcome-based curriculum, yung planned document, yung participation by stakeholders, saka yung vision, mission, core values. And most of you answered A. Now, let me discuss. Next slide po. Teachers, when I say school-based management, it is a depth thrust that decentralizes the decision-making from the central office and field offices to individual schools. Again, let me discuss that. When we talk about school-based management, the management is based in the school. Therefore, if the management is based by the school, it's the school, sinong nasa school? Yung principal, at saka yung faculty, meron ding mga coordinators, tapos iba-iba ding mga stakeholders na involved, such as the learners, the parents, and the community. I'm giving you a clue now. Kasi nga, yung management is not from the central office, it's not from the offices, it's not from the division and district offices, it is going to be led by the school. Kaya nga, for the school to be granted an SBM grant, kasi may SBM grant merong bibigyan na parang monetary tawag dito. For the lack of the term, let's say allowance, parang ganon, parang allowance for may monetary grant kasi na ibibigay based on the results of the school-based management done. Parang MOA, hindi rin. Pero I hope you get parang may ibibigay yung nga, dear teachers, you will notice na yung mga schools are actually very particular with results of the national achievement test, very particular with the grades ng mga bata, if meron ba talagang increase from first grading to fourth grading, marami bang pumapasa, kasi these are all indicators of a good school. Kaya nga, we look at the learner participation, lahat ba ng bata nag-school, may dropout rate, okay, mataas pa yung dropout rate, yung school attendance, yung completion rate, at saka yung student learning achieved. We're looking at results so that we can see that the school is managed. Kasi nga, management role is not by the central office, but by the school itself. Kaya nga, dear teachers, ang framework ng SBM, next slide, yung framework ng SBM, we will really start with the management of the school in terms of resources, based on how the outs are being taught in the classroom. So we're talking about classroom instruction at saka learner's performance. Kasi we have to hold the school accountable for the good results, okay, of the learners. And how will we know if there is a good result? We need to be participatory in our management. We need to check on our students and our learners always, and that the learners will cooperate with us. Kasi nga, this a win-win situation for all the stakeholders. Number 2, the school, being the school itself, is going to manage the school so that we will be able to retain or at least increase participation, learner enrollment, wala tayong withdrawals from all students. Kaya nga, there has to be stakeholders. Kaya nga, yung sagot, dear friends, is letter C. Okay? Participation by stakeholders. Kasi yung school is managed by itself. But with its management, there has to be participation of all stakeholders so that it will be a successful management of the school. You might say, that outcome-based siya. Kasi nga, outcome-based curriculum. So that's always where we want to go. Pero hindi eh. Oo. Kasi if we're talking about school-based management, although outcome-based curriculum is part, it's not the measurement of how the school is. Just because merong outcome-based curriculum, the school already managed it. We're looking at the management of the school. Oo. Yung plan document, that's actually similar with outcome-based curriculum. Kaya nga, letter A and B could not be the answers kasi they are similar. Okay? Yung letter E, sige. Again, dear teachers, hindi pwede A and B kasi nga A and B are similar. Okay? Yung outcome-based curriculum is a plan document. So it's not really about that. Yung vision, mission, and core values naman, that's actually part or what we should start with. We should start with the vision, mission of the school. Diba? Pero kung tutuusin, yung sa DepEd naman, similar naman lang yung DepEd vision, mission, and core values ng lahat ng public schools. Kaya it's not also focused on the vision, mission, and core values. School management is always about participation of stakeholders, from the faculty, the school administrators, the learners, the parents, and the larger team. When all of these are involved, then we can attain good management of the small school. Okay? So yung sagot is letter C. Next question po. The next question is number 18. Again, hindi po straight yung numbers natin ha. So the next number is number 18. You had actually a review with Sir Philip yesterday, and the focus of Sir Philip was the teaching community at saka a little of teaching profession. So I'm also going to talk a little about the teaching profession and teacher and community, focusing on how these concepts are related to curriculum. So ito yung tanong. If your students appear to be more interested in a topic outside your planned lesson for the day, you set your lesson plan for that day and grab the opportunity to discuss the topic of interest governs your action. Again, students are more interested with something else. And then you grab the opportunity to discuss that instead of what you planned. So teachers, if sticking to the plan, then what philosophy is that? Napaka-academic ni teacher na talagang we should be following the plan. That's actually essentialism. So we're looking at the opposite of essentialism. Okay? Now, the teacher is actually open to change. Okay lang na magbago-bago yung implementation or even the planning of the curriculum. So it's not about essentialism. Yung rationalism at yung empiricism related to essentialism at saka perennialism. Focus tayo on the plan, focus tayo on what was actually being thought about. So hindi pwede letter B and letter C. Dalawa na lang, A at saka D. Yung letter A, pwede siya because we're talking about change. Diba? We're talking about change. We change what we are supposed to teach because it's of interest to the learners. And we see that opportunity to really teach them what is also significant or relevant to them. Yung letter D, pwede din. Kasi we're talking about the interest of students. Diba? That's actually being existentialist. We look at the interest, we look at how students are being holistically developed. And one way to do that is to check on their interests and their needs. But tamang sagot, their teachers is actually, next slide po, Ms. Clarissa. Yung tamang sagot, the teachers is actually letter A, progressivism. Bakit? Kasi nga, we're looking at how wait lang po ha. I'm also opening up my laptop, and in case I will be lost here in my phone, I'm actually using my phone now. Sige. The answer again is letter A, progressivism. Bakit ka mo? Kasi the teacher is being practical. The teacher is changing to practicality. Kasi the students wouldn't want to learn something that they are not interested with. let's go with something interesting. The situation or the question is not focused on what students want or on what students are capable of. Kasi existentialism is about holistic development, is about how students would want to really learn based on what they really like or choose to become. Sa situation, it's not about choice naman. Because you come to think of it, the teacher is also not giving the choice to the learners. What the teacher is doing here is that the teacher is changing his or her curriculum implementation based on the students in the. Kaya nga yung tamang sagot is letter A. So be careful tayo ha with the situation. Again, let me explain. The situation did not call for the students to choose something. Kasi nga, when we say existentialism, we should focus on choice. We should focus on students' choice. And students' choice will stem from students' interests and wants. The situation in question number 8 is about how the teacher changed the flow of his or her lesson based on the interest of students. Okay? And there is opportunity to tackle what is more pragmatic or what is more interesting to students. So what will we teach something that is not of interest to learners naman? That is one philosophical basis of progressivism. Okay? So kaya, yung tamang sagot, your teachers is letter A. Okay? Kuha. Next. Next question tayo is Clarissa, question number 22. Teacher Colleen tries her best to make sure that the lesson content is interesting for her students. Examples are kept simple and metaphors and stories are also used. What is the quality of lesson content? So we're talking about lesson content. Okay, this could be discussed in the principles of teaching, but this is discussed here in curriculum development because we could also develop the curriculum based on the quality of content that we are going to select for our students. Again, the situation is Teacher Colleen wants to make the content interesting. Kaya nga, the examples are simple and meron tayong mga ginamit ng mga stories at saka metaphors. So what is the answer here? Would it be interest? Would it be feasibility? What's the word for feasibility? Feasibility means possibility. Oo, pwede bang ituro yung content? Interest, kuha naman yan. Interest is it interesting to learn such content? Self-sufficiency means that if the content is given to you without much teaching activities, can the learners learn by themselves? That's self-sufficiency. Letter D, fluency. Actually, hindi yan part. Okay? Hindi yan part or hindi yan part ng criteria of quality content. So let's just have A, B, and C. Okay? Next slide po. Curriculum content is identified by Bilbao at meron tayong 7 criteria for the selection of curriculum content. We have self-sufficiency, meaning is the content is clear, understandable by learners themselves. So yung content, the learners will be understood by the learners. Significance, the content is purposeful or helpful to the lives of the students. One example of significance, diba we are learning about cells. Cells are the building. But if you come to think of it, hindi naman talaga natin nagagamit yung natutunan namin about cells. It's just that we are made aware of cells because it's significant. Why is it significant? Because in order for us to understand more about the body organs and how our body works, we should start with where it began or where it begins, and that's from cells. Kaya it's significant. It might not be useful, but it is helpful. O, iba yung helpfulness o iba yung significance kaysa sa usefulness. Kasi yung usefulness is utility, applicability. Next, validity. Good content is good content when it is valid or it is done through research, it is validated to be correct. Bakit naman natin ituturo yung maling content? Diba? Dapat tama yung ituturo natin content. Interest. Interest means it's fun. It makes sense. It's something that students would want to learn. Napakadali ng interest. Utility again, applicability or usefulness. Content is nice to be learned by learners if it is useful. For example, we are actually excited, diba, to learn about if we are going to go to our laboratories in our TLE classes. If you remember your elementary or high school years, napaka-excited natin to go to the TLE kasi nga yung mga tinuturo natin talagang nagagamit eh. We're excited to use the sewing machine, kahit na may needle sa kamay natin, or yung, we're excited to go to the eating room kasi nga nagluluto tayo eh, tapos tinuturuan tayo how to cook, diba? Because it's useful, it's of utility. Learnability. Teachers, when we say learnability as a curriculum content criteria, it means that the content is appropriate. Can you take down there in your notes? By the way, wala tayong record. So I hope that you're going to listen well to our lecture. I would suggest that you're going to take down notes. Okay? Again, teachers, another word for learnability is appropriateness. Appropriate ba yung content to the level of the learners? For example, we cannot teach algebra to grade 1. Although it might be significant and your material is self-sufficient for the learners to learn, but it's not appropriate to the level of learners. Kakastart lang ng schooling ng isang grade 1, di ba? Kaya nga, it's not appropriate for them to learn a very cognitive topic or content. Kaya nga, it's not learnable to them. Learnable again means appropriateness. And last but not the least is feasibility. When we say feasibility, we're talking about how students can learn the material or the content because available materials. Tapos yung teacher na expert ng content, it would be difficult to teach or to share to you or to give you content na wala namang resources available o wala namang expert na teacher. So ito yung mga criteria ng good content. Okay? We're still in number 18. Oh, don't worry. I'm still explaining ano yung mga criteria ng good content. What are they again? Self-sufficiency, meaning it could be learned by themselves. Significance, it's helpful, and it's significant, it's relevant, it's related to what we are learning in real life. Validity, it's correct. Or that could be a word that you can use. Interest, it's fun, and it makes sense to learn it. Utility, it's applicable or it's useful content. Learnability, ano yung word natin for learnability? Appropriateness. Feasibility, word natin would be possibility. Magiging possible yung content na matutunan ng bata if there are available resources at saka may teacher who can teach the content. Kaya nga, next slide po. There's also a set of dimensions of curriculum design. This is also prepared by Bilbao et al. Scope, sequence, continuity, integration, articulation, and balance. Scope, that would mean coverage. Sequence, pagkasunod-sunod. Continuity, another word for continuity is spiral progression. Kaya nga, mayroon tayong mga topics or content or mga competencies na inuulit-ulit in the grade levels kasi it's really part of curriculum design to be continuous with the content. Nag-i-increase lang yung level o yung difficulty ng content or ng competency. Integration, from the name itself, can we integrate or can we combine skills, competencies to real life? Can we integrate it with values? Can we integrate it with 21st century skills? That's integration. Articulation, another word for articulation, teachers, is arrangement or thoughtful arrangement. It's different from sequence. Sequence is pagkasunod-sunod, but articulation would be how the parts are coherent with each other, may rason. Why is this arranged here? Why is this next to this? That's articulation. Meron tayong vertical at saka horizontal articulation. At last is balance. Is there balance to what learners are supposed to learn in a particular year level, in a particular grading period, etc. Kaya nga, yung sagot, dear teachers, is lesson interesting for students. Kaya nga, example, meron tayong mga story nalalagay kasi nga, according to Teacher Colleen, the lesson content should be interesting for her students. Kaya nga, yung sagot, teachers, again, is letter A. Okay? Next, 23. Next slides na po tayo, Ms. Clarissa. Salamat. 23. English teacher Manuel Again, teachers, 22 is, okay, 22 pala ito, interest. Yung number 18, teachers, is letter A, progressivism. Okay? Take note, and please help each other out. Let's go to 23. 23 is still the same content or topic are about the principles of content. Okay? Teacher Manuel makes sure that his lessons are of high quality. What quality did he achieve when he taught information that was recent and that came with the information explosion over the internet? So in the situation, teachers, Teacher Manuel is teaching something that is recent, but at the same time is also relevant what is actually happening in the internet. Oo, relevant, recent. Oo, ano yung mga terms that we could connect with relevance or with recency? Oo. Tinuturo natin yung bagay kasi nga it is what is relevant right now o importante right now o at present. It's recent or it's significant. Kaya nga yung sagot is letter B. Okay? Oh. Again, hindi siya pwede learnability because we're not talking about appropriateness. This is about teaching something because it is relevant or recent. We're not talking about balance din. Kasi when we say balance, we are considering, is this to be taught? Tapos enough lang ba to? Is this sufficient? So we're not talking about balance. Interest, pwede. But again, when we talk about interest, this is more of students than the teacher. Dito, yung teacher kasi, yung nag-choose ng content because his reason is that it is recent, it is relevant to the learners, or it is significant to the lives of the learners. Therefore, the answer is letter B. Okay? Next question po. 24. 24 na tayo. Thank you. If teacher Megs facilitates a student-centered classroom by making sure that the lesson content will be useful to students, yun yung clue mo ha, will be useful to students. Which kind will be achieved? Claro. The answer is letter A. Utility means use. If you're going to ask me again, sir, ano ba yung kaibahan ng significant at saka utility? Teacher, not all that are significant are useful. Okay? For example, a significant or a recent situation that we have right now is yung as a friend, di ba? Oo, punta tayo friend, ganon. It is significant because it is recent and it's connected to the lives of learners. But learning about it, it's not useful, di ba? Oo, pwede nga ring hindi na natin malaman kung ano yung nangyari kay Paolo Contis at kay Yen Santos, pero parang napaka-interesting naman, no? To learn about it. Kaya may interest din dyan, di ba? And it is significant kasi nga it's recent and it's related to our lives recently, di ba? Oo. That's significance. But it's not useful. Hindi siya nagagamit. Again, going back to my example earlier, yung cells, it's not useful. Oo, it's not useful naman. Sorry sa mga science teachers dyan. Pero if you come to think of it, hindi naman talaga useful yung pagkatuto ng cells. But it is significant. It is relevant. Kasi again, you wouldn't know what tissues are, what organ body systems are, if we won't start from cells. So it's still significant. Therefore, it is still content that is to be taught to learners. Kuha? Magkaiba yung significance at saka yung utility or usefulness. Next question. Marami tayong questions actually about the criteria of content. 36. So again, 1, 18, 22, 23, 24, at saka 36. His mathematics class, Teacher Don uses practical examples to teach abstract mathematical concepts, ensuring that learning is useful in life. Meron na kayong clue. Useful in life. Tapos meron pang word na practical. Practical from the word practice. Practice meaning pinapractice in life. We do it in life. The answer is letter A, utility. Teachers, technique, when we answer items, you can actually just select or you can just actually locate in the questions synonyms or words that could be related. to the choices there. And don't confuse yourselves na if you can find such clues in the choice. You don't have the luxury of time, teachers, during the board exam, okay? Sir Ayu might have the luxury of time to discuss or rationalize with you around 30 questions. You have 150 questions to answer in the board exam. You don't have much of that time. So if ever you can locate right away a clue and then there's a relevant answer found in the choices to the clue that you found in the question, then answer it. Don't waste time, di ba? Kasi sometimes, di ba, may time tayo na parang OC tayo. Parang pwede naman ito. Kasi ganito. Pwede naman letter D, di ba? Wag, don't waste time. Okay? That's it. Kasi nga, marami tayong items pa na sasagutin from one. Next. Uy, Cebu. So sa mga friends ko who are here in Cebu or Visayas and Mindanao, stay safe po tayo. How about sa Manila or sa Luzon? Umuulan din ba? I hope you are staying safe. Teacher, let me... I connected question 36 there kasi it's the similar topic eh. So I hope you understand. Let's go now to a different topic. We are now in question number 25. During classroom level curriculum implementation, the strategies that work are classified as green. Which of the following belongs to this category? A, homogeneous students grouping. B, content delivery based on the lessons. C, excess in chalk talk. Or letter D, student interest and teacher enthusiasm. Now, teachers, some of us might have difficulty with this question kasi nga, maybe it's our first time to know that meron palang mga tinatag na mga techniques na green at saka may mga tinatag na ano-ano pang kulay, di ba? Don't be confused, dear teachers, ha? Meron tayong green strategies at saka red strategies. Color themselves, if you know the traffic light, green means go, it's good, it's okay. So push through with it. Sa red, meaning it's to be stopped. It's something that we could not push through or we cannot continue kasi there might be a problem with such strategy. Okay? Green, meaning good. Red, okay. So, I hope that pumasok yan sa kokote nyo when you look at green at saka red. Okay? Now, based on the choices, saan dyan yung pwede o yung magandang strategy for curriculum implementation in the classroom? Homogeneous, maganda ba yan? No, it's not a good strategy. Okay? Yung content delivery, parang hindi rin. Diba? It's not a good strategy. Kasi focus tayo on content. That's actually not what is expected from us teachers. Dapat we should be focused on skills. Okay? Letter C, chalkboard talk, parang hindi maganda. Diba? So, it's not also a good strategy. Kaya nga, yung sagot dito is letter D. Student interest and teacher enthusiasm. Okay? Next slide po. Again, green strategies or green flags mean good. Red flags mean no. As an idiom, red flag is a warning sign of danger. On the right side on the screen, you will see how or when can we say that our teachers are enthusiastic in their classroom delivery. When they talk energetically, when they show interest, when they appear to enjoy teaching, etc. These are green flags. Excuse me. Disinterested actions of teachers, lethargic yung teacher or bored. Yung nagfi-fidget yung si teacher, di ba? Yung nagfa-frown o nagsascowl si teacher. So these are red flags. So again, yung tamang sagot, dear teachers, is letter D. Okay. Next question. Question number 34 na tayo, dear teachers. Kindly take note of the numbers. Again, I arranged them according to topic and not to the numbers. I hope you understand. 34. What is Principal Louis' general view about learning if he sets up structure and designs for teaching learning that favor free and open communication, acceptance, respect, freedom from threat, and trust in oneself? A, consequence. Excuse me. Parang hindi naman consequence, di ba? Kasi these are all positive.
free communication, acceptance, freedom from threat. So parang hindi naman concept of experience. Letter B, painful process. O ano namang painful dyan sa free communication? O parang hugot ito sa love, di ba? Oo. Although learning can sometimes be painful, tama naman yan. But in the situation here with Principal Luis, parang hindi naman about pain, di ba? Yung learning. Letter C, evolutionary process, parang pwede naman. Oo. Letter D, school resources. Anong school resource dito? Communication? Hindi naman siya resource, it's a skill, that people must have. So the answer is letter C. Okay? Evolutionary process. Next slide po. We actually have some principles of learning. Okay? Power of C. Professor Dennis, but not all the time, okay? We still have to read all items in the choices and then check if it makes sense. Okay? What is learning? Well, learning, again, is a psychological process. Therefore, it depends on the behavior of the student or of the learner. Also, learning can be an accumulation of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Learning can also be through observation, discussions. Passive yung learning, pwede active yung learning. Learning is continuous. Wrong spelling yung continuous dyan. And last, learning is important. Because it could be a source of motivation. In this case, yung evolutionary process is related to continuous process. From time to time, through the use of open communication, and that we are free from threat, we can evolve in the way that we learn. Kaya nga, yung sagot is letter C. Okay? Next. 43. Next slide po. Question number 43 na tayo, ha? Which does not belong to performance-based subjects? A, values education. B, music. C, science. D, TLE, ICT. Again, which does not belong to performance-based subjects? A, values or ESP. ESP means edukasyon sa pagpapagkatao. B, music. C, science. D, TLE, ICT. I think may dalawang subjects na klaro. Music is performance-based. Kasi nga, it's under MAPE. Diba? And TLE is, of course, a performance-based subject. It's skill. Okay? Oo. So, dalawa na lang yung pagpipilian. Letter A or letter C. Teachers, let me discuss this by using the grading system of K-12. Next slide po. Teachers, I hope you remember what are the components of grading in the K-12. Written works, performance tasks, and saka quarterly assessment. Now, teachers, saan po natin binabase yung sabi sa question na performance-based? Of course, titignan natin yung performance task. Diba? So, of course, MAPE and TLE, they are performance-based subjects kasi nga, ang taas ng performance task. We are asking 60% of the grade. Diba? Oo. So, MAPE, TLE, sure, they are performance-based subjects. But how about science? Saan yung science? Actually, sa science, kalakip din yung math, written works, and performance tasks are similar with 40%. How about yung values? Values is under the first column. Languages, araling palipunan, at saka ESP. ESP is edukasyon sa pagpapakatao, or is another word for values education. And it has 50%. Oo, kaya nga teachers, mas performance-based pa yung values education kaysa sa science. Kaya yung sagot is letter C. Okay? Wag ma-confuse. Tingin natin yung value head is just talking about attitudes, pero hindi eh. Hinihingi sa curriculum, hinihingi sa grading system that there should be 50% performance tasks for the teaching of values education or ESP. Kaysa sa science that we're only asking for 40%. Kaya na-confuse kayo sa science kasi nga may laboratory, di ba? Yung science. But actually, sa K-12 curriculum, wala namang hinihingi na laboratory time. Wala din siya sa grading components or sa weight of the components in the K-12 grading system. Wala eh. Kasi 40% lang hinihingi from the performance task in science. Also, another process would be, another way to look at where we could say that its performance-based is on the framework of the subjects. Next slide po. Sa framework teachers ng Values Ed, nandyan talaga yung interaktibong teorya, nandyan din yung experiential learning, nandyan din yung constructivism, nandyan din yung career guidance and career development, which will entail action from students if we are looking for the career that they need. Kaya nga, performance-based yung Values Ed. Okay? Don't be confused. Okay? We need to have a basis where we look at the answers of our choices. Okay? Next slide, yung science naman, the focus lang ng science, slide, that's the framework for science, is the focus lang in teaching science is actually in literacy. Scientific literacy, technological literacy, and environmental literacy. Although meron namang demonstration of scientific inquiry skills, but remember, the focus is on inquiry, meaning yung pag-isip. So it's still more cognitive than just acting or performance. But it doesn't mean we cannot ask students to perform or to demonstrate their learning. Kaya nga, it's still there. Meron pa rin performance task na 40%. It's just that, mas malaki yung expectation ng performance in Values Ed or in ESP kaysa sa science. Next slide po. Kaya nga, yung tamang sagot is letter C, science, not Values Ed. Okay? Meron tayong basis. Ang basis natin is the grading system, performance tasks. Okay? Next. Question number 54 tayo, dear teachers. Which is the least threatening? A, autocratic. B, cooperative. C, competitive. D, individualistic. Ano to, sir? These are actually types of leadership. Okay? Oo. At in the next slide, we are going to see the types of leadership. And these leadership styles can also be applied as a teacher because we are actually leaders in the classroom. So what are the types of leadership? Laissez-faire. Laissez-faire teachers is a type of leadership in which there is minimal involvement from the leader. Autocratic, the leader makes unilateral decisions. When we say participative, the leadership is democratic, meaning the leader or the teacher values input from students or from the members of the group. Transactional, merong goals, merong direction, merong exchange between the leader at saka yung members. Transformational, this is a high-level type of leadership in which the leader is going to transform the lives of his or her members. Now, teachers, going back to the question, which is the least threatening among the types of leadership? Is it autocratic? Is it cooperative? Is it competitive? Is it individualistic? Tingnan natin yung choices. Autocratic again means unilateral, meaning si leader lang lahat. Okay? Parang dictator, yung si leader. So it's a threatening leadership. Cooperative, hindi. Cooperative is similar with participative, in which the learners or the members of the group are cooperating with the leadership. Yung competitive, that's very threatening, diba? It's not even a type of leadership, but we can see competitive can be related to being autocratic. Nagko-compete with power yung leader. Kaya nagiging autocratic. Yung individualistic is also not a type of leadership or a level of leadership, but individualistic can also be related to autocratic. Kasi nga, in an autocratic leadership, it's the leader only who is going to decide everything for the group. Kaya nagiging dictator yung leader. Kaya yung sagot, dear teachers, tama kayo. It's letter B. Very good. Again, that's question number 54. Okay? Are we still following, dear teachers? Can you type good if you are still with me and if you are learning? Salamat po. Next, ito. This is a very controversial question and I have to answer this well. I hope this was not discussed yesterday with Sir Philip para walang overlap. This is question number 55. If you pass the LEP, will you be required to be a member of the accredited professional organization for teachers? Ay, maraming nagsasalita ng good. Ay, salamat po. Thank you so much. Oo, lumakas yung ulan dito, so I hope I'm still there. Okay? Again, 50 teachers, can you write your answers in the chat box? If you pass the LET, will you be required to be a member of the accredited professional organization for teachers? A, no. B, yes, when the teacher is already teaching. C, yes. D, only for LET passers who are not repeaters. Ano kayo yung sagot ng karamihan dito? Sige. We discuss by using RA 7836. And what is RA 7836? Next slide. Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994. This is the law, teachers, na we have the licensure examination for teachers. So kasalanan ng RA 7836, bakit tayong licensure exam? Okay? Oo, kasalanan ng RA 7836. Now, teachers, okay? Even if it's into law at meron tayong licensure exam, pasalamat tayo na merong licensure exam. Kasi this means that our profession is regulated. Not all can actually teach. Kaya you need to have a license for you to teach. Kasi you cannot teach without a license. Okay, that's clear. Okay, and that's by RA 7836. Now, the question is asking us if whether we are asked to be a member of the assigned professional organization of teachers. So I'm going to quote section 22, integration of the teaching profession. The teaching profession shall be integrated into one national organization which shall be recognized by the board and commission as the one and only integrated and accredited association of professional teachers. Upon registration with the board, every professional teacher shall be encouraged. Hindi required, encouraged. Okay? Magkaiba yung required at saka yung encouraged. Kasi teachers, meron ding mga professions that are asking the members or the licensed professionals to be required members of the group. For example, meron tayong group for CPA, ang tawag sa kanila ay IPA, you have to be a member of the organization. Yung sa law din, when you pass the bar exam, you need to be a member of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines. You need to be a member. Okay? Oo. But again, according to RA 7836, Section 2, upon registration with the board, the professional teacher shall be encouraged to become a member of the Integrated National Organization. Those who have been registered with board but are not members of the said integrated organization shall be allowed to register as members of the said integration organization within 3 years after the effectivity of this act. Membership in the integrated organization shall not be barred to membership in other associations of the teaching profession. The professional teacher shall receive the benefits and privileges pertinent to their membership in the said integrated and accredited organization of professional teachers only upon payment of the required membership fees and dues. Teachers, to take note, Section 22, there is an organization for professional teachers. It is an integrated organization, but it is highly encouraged for members to be a member. The members who are not, the licensed teachers who are not members of the said integrated organization shall be allowed to register as members within 3 years after the effectivity of this act. So it's not right away that you will be asked to be a member. You even have 3 years leeway for you to be a member of the organization after passing the board exam. But it is not a requirement, it is highly encouraged. But if we're going to look at the prospective teachers of professional development, it's good to be member of the organization, because being a member of the organization would mean that you will have continuing professional development. Take note, teachers, if papasa tayo sa board exam, okay, this year, 2021, and then magte-take tayo ng oath under PRC. After 3 years, we will be renewing our license. Actually, I would want to show to you my new renewed license. So, kaka-renew ko lang last September 8. Oh. And then, Sir Ayo submitted a list of professional development activities ko. Kasi we need to have 15 CPD units for renewal. In your case, kasi you are new teachers, you wouldn't need CPD units. Hindi pa need yung CPD units. So your first renewal nyo is free. Walang CPD units. Your next renewal after 6 years from the time that you pass the board exam will be you will already be needing 15 units of
continuing professional development. You can get CPD units from the integrated organization. Next slide po. The integrated organization of teachers is actually Philippine Association for Teachers and Educators Incorporated, or PAFTE. Okay? So PAFTE. I'm showing you the screen now. Next slide po. That we can be associate members. But you need to be inducted, or you need to be a licensed professional teacher for you to be a member of the organization. Okay? At the same time, dear teachers, yung board examination for teachers, it is actually being organized by the regional chapters of PAFTE. So PAFTE is the one organizing the oath taking, yung physical pa, oath taking. Ngayon, if we're going to pass the board exam and top the board exam, yung oath taking natin is virtual na lang. Okay? Tapos merong isang date in which all the new licensed professionals will be taking oath virtually via Zoom or via anong platform ba yung gagamitin ng PRC. But nung face-to-face pa, meron talagang physical oath taking, and it is actually PAFTE, Philippine Association for Teachers and Educators, who is organizing the regional oath taking activities of PRC. Okay? Kasi nga, PAFTE is the integrated organization of teachers who are licensed teachers. So again, tamang sagot is letter. Ano na yung tamang sagot, teachers? The answer is A, no. Oh, you will not be required to be a member of the organization. Okay? But siguro, if the tanong is, will you be encouraged to be a member within 3 years of the accredited organization? The answer is yes. Another point, teachers, bakit sabi ko no, is that PAFTE, even if it's the integrated organization, if you look at the PRC website, walang integrated organization for teachers. Kahit nandyan siya sa RA 7836, wala pang integrated organization dyan. This means, teachers, na yung PAFTE is still applying to be the official integrated organization for teachers. Okay? Next slide po. The answer is no. Okay? Next, 57. 57, teachers, is the question is, boxing champ Manny Pacquiao wants to teach boxing to students enrolled in a special school. Can he be given a special permit? Can he be given a special permit? Oh. A, no, he is not a teacher education graduate. B, no, he has not passed the LET. C, yes, he is a graduate of ALS. D, yes, he has excelled and gained international recognition. Again, Manny Pacquiao wants to teach boxing in a school. Hindi training center, it's a school. Kaya nga, if it's a school, dapat may licensed teachers. Can he be given a special permit? A, no, he's not a teacher education graduate. B, no, he has not passed the LET. C, yes, he is a graduate of ALS. And D, yes, he has excelled and gained international recognition. Now, let me use RA 7836 again. Next slide po tayo. RA 7836 again is the act in which it asks teachers to be professionals in the Philippines. Kaya nga meron tayong licensure exam. Let me read to you some important points. Upon approval of the application and payment of the prescribed fees, the certificate of registration and professional license as a professional teacher shall be issued without examination as required in this act to a qualified applicant who at the time of the approval of this act is A, a holder of a certificate of eligibility as issued by the Civil Service Commission and by DepEd. Wala sa choices yung certificate of eligibility ni Manny Pacquiao. Hindi siya eligible teacher as given by CSC and DEX. Letter B, a registered professional teacher by the National Board for Teachers under DEX. This is during the 1980s, before the board exam. Meron tayong tinatawag na National Board for Teachers under DepEd or DEX before. You can be a teacher if you pass that exam before 1994, before RA 7836. Hindi, we're not talking about this. Letter C,
not qualified under paragraphs 1 and 2 but with any of the following qualifications. Ito yung qualifications. A, elementary or secondary teacher for 5 years in good standing and a holder of Bachelor of Science in Education. Oh, do you remember the choice A? Yung choice A is no, he is not a teacher education graduate. So for you to be granted special permit, dapat you have taught 5 years and is a holder of a degree. Kaya yung answer is letter A. We're talking about special permit. So it's not about passing the LEP. Kaya nga, naghihingi ng special permit kasi hindi nakapasa sa or did not take the LEP and did not pass it yet. So naghihingi ng special permit to be able to teach. Okay? So you need to be a holder of the degree in education and must have taught 5 years at least with good standing for you to be granted special permit. Or number 2, under that is an elementary or secondary teacher for 3 years in good standing and a holder of master's degree in education or its equivalent, provided, maraming mga provisions there. 2 years, dapat naka-register na, dapat licensed na the board teacher or a professional teacher, etc. Okay? So yung tamang sagot, dear teachers, is letter A. Okay? Next slide po. So section 28 actually penal provisions. Kasi nga, dear teachers, you cannot teach without a license. So kung sino yung nagpa-practice ng teaching profession, okay, without the license, yung nagre-represent or nag-a-attempt na magturo or gumawa or gagawa ng certificate of registration, yung may false or fraudulent evidence, yung nag-impersonate ng registrant, if na-revoke or na-suspend yung certificate of registration mo, you actually use or advertise any title even if you don't have the valid license or certificate, or any person who violates any violation of RA 7836 will be fined. Okay, mayroong penal provision or penal provisions for them. Siguro you will be asked or you are asking right now, sir, paano po kami yung wala pang license kasi nga walang board exam? Hindi nyo yun kasalanan. Kaya nga, you are asked by PRC actually visit them, to check on them from time to time. Kasi nga, some of you might be teaching, so you need to be granted with special permit. Diba? In your case, kasi nga most of you have already have registered for the upcoming board examination, then that is proof that you are trying to become professionals. Okay? Kaya nga, that could be a good proof that you can teach. Some of you might be teaching right now without a license. So, kaya careful tayo. That's why you cannot teach in the public school. Kasi nga, it's really in the law, RA 7836, that you cannot teach without a license. Yung private schools natin don't have a choice kasi most of the teachers who are licensed are already in the public school system. Kaya nga, the private schools are going to vouch on you that, hindi ka pumasa pa no sa board exam, but ang ganda naman ng grades mo, you're in good standing naman, tapos you graduated from this university or this college, okay, so we are going to accept you. But make sure that if the board examination comes in, you need to take that and pass that so that you will become a permanent teacher perhaps or a regular teacher in our school. Kasi nga, according to RA 7836, you cannot teach without a license. So again, tamang sagot for teachers is letter A. Okay? Ay, mali yung underline ko. Sorry. The answer is letter A. Okay? Take note. 57 is letter A. Mali yung underline. Pasensya. Letter A yan ha. He is not a teacher education graduate. 60 na tayo. Please, Miss Carissa. 60. Kakasagot ko lang. Do schools that accept non-let passers to teach violate RA 7836? A, no, provided he has taught for at least 3 years. B, yes, no one may teach without a license. C, no. D, yes. Don't be confused. No, sorry, it's not letter D. The answer is letter A. Oo, letter A. Next slide. Kasi, remember, it's actually in the provisions earlier in RA 7836. You can be granted special permit as long as you have taught in 5 years and you're a holder of Bachelor of Science in Education or its equivalent. Or you have taught, You are an elementary or secondary teacher for 3 years in good standing and a holder of a master's degree in education or its equivalent. Oo. So hindi naman talaga nagba-violate. As long as the teacher has taught for at least 3 years, okay, and he or she is going to promise to take the latest or the recent licensure examination for teachers. Okay? Meron kasing provisions that you can teach or you can be given special permit to teach. But to be safe, you need to ask for the special permit from PRC so that wherever you go, you can be a teacher, even in the public school. So even if you don't have a license, you can actually ask for that certification, and you promise that you will be taking the board exam the soonest time possible. You can do that. Meron tayong tinatawag na mga para teachers in the public schools. You can be employed as a para teacher first. Then when the time comes that you pass the board exam, then you can now become a regular teacher in the public school system. But you can also be employed in a public school. Wala ding problema yan. Okay? Next, number 61, dear teachers. Education must be, 61 na tayo ha, next slide po. Education must be responsive to the needs of the industry and business. So the first biennial National Convention on Education 2008 imposed this for updating in the licensure examinations for teachers. Actually, teachers, yung situation there actually gave you a clue. Needs of the industry and business. So, saan dyan, teachers sa choices would be related to industry and business. Moral ethical values? Pwede, but not entirely. Technical and scientific competencies? I think pwede, di ba? Because it's talking about technical and scientific competencies. They are needed for the industry and business. Applied laboratory facilities? Parang simang, malayo. Letter D, vocational skills? Pwede. Teachers, let's use the speech of President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo in 2008 regarding the biennial National Congress on Education. And during her speech, next slide, she actually mentioned it. And she said, and we instruct the Professional Regulatory Commission to update licensure examinations to reflect technical and scientific requirements of business and industry. So hindi letter D yung sagot, dear teachers. The answer is letter B. Hindi rin pwede vocational skills, teachers. Kasi nga, vocational skills is actually practical. Application yan. So there should be practical application. Yung mga board exams natin are highly cognitive. Nagtitake tayo ng exam or written exam siya. 3 subjects, 150 each. So it's not vocational skills. Diba? It could not be added in the board exam. But perhaps the technical and scientific competencies can be added in the board exam. As mentioned and as asked by President Arroyo before during the biennial National Congress on Education. Okay? And this is not only for LEP, it's also for other professional licensure examinations. So again, teachers, the answer is letter B. Okay? I hope you appreciate what Sir Ayo is doing. Talagang meron tayong basis sa mga sagot natin. It's not just what I think, but it's really what is based from paper. Okay? Talagang hinanap ko pa yan for you. Okay? You're welcome. Okay? Next. 17 na tayo. Threatened, you're welcome. Threatened with death, teacher Hannah is told to give an undeserving student a passing mark. Uy. Parang K-drama, no? Na parang kidnap. Tapos, papatayin kita kung hindi mo ipapasa yung anak ko. Parang Sky Castle, if you have seen Sky Castle. Ano pa yung mga K-drama about high school or yung mga competitive parents. I don't know if this will happen to us, but this is just a situation. Teacher Hannah is threatened with death and is told to give an undeserving student a passing mark. If you were a utilitarian, what will your advice most likely be? Teachers, hinihingi sa question the perspective of a utilitarianist. So I hope you need to encircle that. Now the question is, do you understand what utilitarianism is? Kasi you know what utilitarianism is, then you will be able to answer this. Okay? Here are the choices. A, don't pass him. You surely will not like someone to give you a death threat.
D, pass the student. That will be of use to the student, his parents, and you. C, pass the student, why suffer the threat? Letter D, don't pass him. Live by your principle of justice. Now, let me explain what utilitarianism is. Next slide po. We're in question number 72 na po, ha? Ms. Clarissa, next slide. The next slide, teachers, contains a graphic organizer or a graphical representation of utilitarianism. Utilitarianism, dear teachers, is when it benefits or it's useful to stakeholders. So, sino yung mga stakeholders? Family, friends, company, community, society. Parang meron sa choices, no, about family and friends and society. O, yun yung sagot. Kasi nga, utilitarianism from the word utility, and ginamit din natin yung word utility kanina, teachers, about content, di ba? Utility means use, gamit. Will it be useful? In the case of utilitarianism, will it be useful to the person and to the other members of society? Oo, yan yung utilitarianism. Happiness is achieved when we can make use of what was learned. Okay? Happiness is equal to use, gamit. Kaya nga yung tanong sa utilitarianism is, how can stakeholders benefit and how can they be harmed by my action? So if you're going to follow utilitarianist principle, you're always thinking about how will others be benefited from your doings or from your action, or how will others react, how will others be able to get something out from this choice. Okay, that's utilitarianism. The goal, again, of utilitarianism, their teachers, is create the most benefit over harm for the most stakeholders. Kaya nga, sagot, dear teachers, is letter B. Tama. Pass the student, o ipasa mo na. Kasi yung pagpasa ng student will be useful naman for the student, his parents, and you. I think you've heard some teachers na ganito yung principle. Yung sinasabi nila, ipapasa ko kayo. Kahit na hindi kayo deserving na ipapasa. Kasi it will be part of your credentials. Kayo na yung bahala sa buhay niyo. Ganun. Parang mixed emotions, no? Parang, happy ba ako na pinasa ako ni sir? Parang pinapakonsensya na ako na parang hindi ako dapat ipasa. But pinapasa niyo ako anyway kasi nga magagamit ko yung diploma ko. Diba? So, that's utilitarianism. Okay? How will it be useful to you and to the stakeholders around him? Yung iba ay also taken from other philosophies. Okay? Yung letter D, klaro yan. What philosophy is that? Yung you need to live the principle of justice. That's actually idealism. Diba? Oo. Yung letter C naman, ipasa yung student. Why do we have to suffer? That's hedonism. Diba? Pleasure. And take away what gives you pain. Diba? Oo. Letter A, don't pass him. You surely will not like someone to give you a death threat. Which advice pass? This is actually a kind of behaviorism. Diba? Next question po, 73. Prepare shorelines with depleted coral reefs, which is most significant for school. A, outreach by depositing rubber tires. Ginagawa ba yan ng school? Nagbibigay, nag-outreach sa pagbigay ng mga rubber tires. Letter B, implement a reporting system. Is that gawain of schools to report? Parang hindi naman. Letter C, legislative lobby, meaning we're going to lobby, we're going to campaign for a law to disallow tourism. Ginagawa ba yan ng school? Yung pumupunta sa legislado to tell them or to campaign for them na dapat may law, dapat ipasa. Letter D, outreach by educating villagers on protection of coral reefs. I think kaya ito ng school. Kasi it's about teaching. And not just the teachers and the school itself could actually be the teacher. For the villagers, the students themselves can do it too. Diba? So the answer is letter D, based on elimination and based also on analyzing the choices. Therefore, dear teachers, there should be a collaborative relationship between schools and community. Kasi the school is not just going to teach for the learners, but the school is there for the society. Okay? So, tamang sagot again is letter D. Very good. Tama tayong lahat. Next question na po tayo, Ms. Clarissa. 75. Skip that one. Salamat. Skip that one. Let's go to 75. As a teachers, alam natin that Because the school is a member or a part of society, the school should be helping society. Kaya nga, one way to help in society is perhaps educating the community. 75. Let's say we're going to promote or organize fun run. So ano yung pinopromote na values to the participants to develop camaraderie, exercise their bodies, and feel a sense of engagement, achievement. Oo. Ano ba yung fino-focus natin when we are organizing a fun run, and that it's going to develop camaraderie, exercise of body, feel a sense of engagement, and achievement. Let's imagine teachers na yung fun run is organized by the school. Okay? So it's still part of schools. This is actually a confusing question. I was actually confused, but I have to analyze it so that we can decide on the best answer. Now, think with me ha. Camaraderie, kasi ito yung mga clues natin teachers yung camaraderie, exercise of body, yung exercise of and feel a sense of engagement and achievement. Yung camaraderie, it could be related to national integrity. As a nation, di ba, we need to feel that sense of nationalism, being participative with others. So that could actually help in national integrity. Yung exercise of body, that's actually related with letter A, spiritual vigor. Kasi vigor is related to health. Having vigor. Kaya nga lang, it's using spiritual vigor. But if you're going to analyze naman, you wouldn't be able to be vigorous spiritually if you're also not going to be vigorous physically. Diba? It is helping in the achievement of vigor. Yung feel of engagement and achievement, that's actually confusing, but actually I would relate it to letter D, moral integrity. Kasi nga, achievement, di ba? That's actually more into self. And that you'll be able to maintain something moral by following what is actually ethical. Ethical kasi if we're going to keep our bodies healthy, it's ethical also if we're going to communicate and be part of the community through camaraderie, and that you will sense that achievement, diba? If you're going to do something good, diba? Or is well or better for your body and for the community. That's where moral integrity can be connected. Kaya yung sagot ko is letter B, cultural consciousness. Also, I'm going to use, next slide po, the 1987 Constitution, Section 3.2. Educational institutions, and in this case, yung fun run, must inculcate patriotism and nationalism. O lumabas yung nationalism kanina. Love of humanity, respect for human rights. So saan lumabas yung camaraderie? Dito tayo sa dito tayo sa respect for human rights, nationalism, patriotism, love of humanity. Yung exercise of the body, yung spiritual vigor, nandyan yan, spiritual values, duties of citizenship, tapos yung moral integrity, nandyan, yung spiritual values, moral character, personal discipline, etc. So I think, teachers, itong question na ito is actually referring to Section 3.2 of the Philippine Constitution. The school must inculcate these values. And sadly, walang item dyan sa Section 3.2 about cultural consciousness. Mahirap na tanong, no? So I hope this could be our basis or that, Section 3.2. So the answer is letter B. Okay? If you come to think of it naman, the activity fun run is not cultural in its sense. Diba? Kasi ang iniisip natin na cultural consciousness would be ano ba yung mga activities that we can do in the community that will increase our consciousness or kamalayan, kulturang kamalayan. So it's not. Hindi naman. Pero spiritual vigor, integrity can be achieved. Next question po, 82. 73 ha, letter B. 75, letter B. 82. What part of the formal education system was present during the American times but not in the Spanish times? A, vocational education, B, private education, C, religious education, D, public education. Teachers, ano yung sagot natin? Can you chat in the chat box, please? Let me check. Maraming nagsasagot ng letter D. For those who were under me in the review, alam mo that Sir Ayo is actually fond of history. And I'm actually encouraging you talaga to learn about our history because the knowledge of the past will lead us to not do them again in the present and in the future. Now, Spanish Times is the Spanish Times was known for religiosity, especially Catholicism. It's also known for how the friars are actually very are like dictators who would actually tell us on what is expected of us, di ba? O ganon. So, religious education, that's actually in the Spanish Times. Yung private education, nandiyan ba yan during Spanish times? Yes. Oo. Meron na tayong University of Santo Tomas during the time of the Spaniards, and Dr. Rizal was actually an alumnus of University of Santo Tomas, and this was even during the Spanish times in the 1700s. Yung Colegio del Ildefonso in Cebu, which is actually University of San Carlos now, was also present during the Spanish times. So these are private education. This was implementation of private education. Also, kaya nga meron tayo sadly not quite a good regard with public schools kasi the time of the Spaniards, mas nauna nating nalaman o mas nauna nating na napipraise or we are more attuned to private education. Tapos yung mga mayayaman, yung mga ilustrados, yung mga mestizos, yung mga insulares, at saka mga peninsulares, they come to these private schools kasi nga sila lang yung nakaka-afford. Whereas yung mga Pinoy are only going to attend the catechism classes around 3 p.m. in the churches. And some of them are sponsored by the local government or by their amo or by their Spanish counterparts in vocational education institutions. Oh, sir, so meron na palang vocational education institutions noon? Yes. And it is separate for boys at saka for girls. Boys are taught how to teach. Kaya nga meron ding normal school before during the Spanish times, but only intended for the males. Kasi nga patriarchal in Spanish. Also, the males are also taught how to do legwork, work or field work. Kaya, just like carpentry, fishery, agriculture, etc. Yung women, yung vocational institutions for girls are mostly beaterio, pagmamadre, or home skills, cooking, sewing, home economics, kumbaga. But wala pong public education during the time of the Spaniards. Formally. What do you mean formally, sir? Merong public education before. It's just that it's not formal. When I say not formal, meaning walang grade levels. Pero public siya kasi nga it's intended for the general public. Kaya nga lang, it's not widespread. It's only some communities or some cities are doing that. So it's not strictly public education like ngayon in the American. That was taken from the American Times. So next slide, to discuss further, education during the Spanish regime, friars, parochial schools. So therefore, it's about catechism and tinuturo sa atin yung Doctrina Christiana. Instruction was in dialect. During the American times, what was the language that was used during the American times? We were taught English. Kasi nga, yung mga Espanyol did not want us to learn Spanish. They don't want us to be similar to them or to be at par with them. Kaya, instruction was in the dialect. The Spaniards actually learned the local languages. Education was managed, supervised, and controlled by the friars, both the private schools, kaya nga yung private schools natin here sa Philippines are mostly run by priests. Kasi we also got that system from them. Okay? Yung religious education, of course, mga pare. Tapos yung vocational education or vocational institutions are also run by priests before. Okay? Education in the country was not uniform. When we say not uniform, meaning it's not standardized, it's not formalized, it's not structured. That's the last statement. The system of schooling was not hierarchical nor structured, thus there were no grade levels. Walang grade 1, 2, 3, walang kinder, walang elementary, walang high school, walang ganon during the Spanish times. We already had this formal structure of education when the Americans came and they taught us their public system of education.
Kaya nga the answer is letter D. Okay, 82, D. 83, dear teachers. Next question na po tayo. Salamat. Ito, mahirap ito na tanong. If Dr. Jose Rizal in the 21st, if Dr. Rizal lived in the 21st century, what character, expression, and commitment would he have shown our generation? Mahirap ito na tanong. Kasi nga, we revere Dr. Jose Rizal. He be a man of all trades. We know that he was a surgeon, a doctor, an ophthalmologist. He was also a scientist. He actually studied taxidermy. Di ba? Nagko-collection ng mga fossils at saka ng mga butterflies at saka mga kung anek-anek sa mga animals. Di ba? Oo. He was also an inventor, o mahilig din siyang gumawa ng mga bagay-bagay. I actually visited the Pitan where Jose Rizal lived for years when he was quote-unquote imprisoned. Oo, nakita ko doon yung mga bahay na actually he designed. Yung bahay din kung saan siya nanggagamot. Yung lugar din kung saan siya nagpinta. Kasi ang daming ginawa ni Jose Rizal. Kung he was actually living in the 21st century, I can actually say that he was bored. Diba? Kasi ginagawa niya lahat. Diba? Oo. Pero this is actually a difficult question. O, ano yung mga sagot natin? Most of you answered letter A. O, inventor of techniques. Okay. Now, sige, power of elimination. Hindi natin pwedeng ibigay yung letter B. Kasi letter B is common. Citizen and producer. Ano namang nakakagalak being a citizen and being a producer, diba? So it's not quite Jose Rizal level, diba? It's not quite related to heroic level. Yung member of family and community na lalong-lalo na hindi yan. Kasi nga it's just normal, diba? Hindi naman siya heroic level. Hindi naman siya ganoon. Oo. Kaya we have two choices na lang, letter A at saka letter D. Kaya I understand that you answered mostly letter A at saka letter D. Inventor of techniques at saka creative dreamer. But teachers, following my instinct that about the hero Jose Rizal, and he is going to live, or if he were to be in the 21st century, what would make him a hero? Would it be because he was an inventor of techniques, or would it be because he was a creative dreamer? Ano yung sagot niyo, please? Can you chat in the chat box based on what I said? If we're talking about heroism, and we're talking about Jose Rizal here, diba? So, in the 21st century, what could he be? What could his expression and commitment be to our generation right now in the 21st century? See, yung sagot nyo is now letter D. And I would have to believe it's letter D. Using the leading virtues here that I've gotten from an Araling Palipunan book, this is how Jose Rizal was actually described. Next slide po. Jose Rizal is described to have love of God. If you remembered Mi Ultimo Adios and his last discourses, sabi niya, before he did not believe in God, but now he believes in God. Diba? And that there has been a God. It's just that he did not want to accept it na meron. Purity and idealism. This is where I'm going to highlight, dear friends. Next slide po tayo, Ms. Clarissa. Salamat. Idealism. Jose Rizal was an idealist. And what do we mean when we say idealist? Meaning, tinitingnan kung ano ba yung tama, ano yung karapat-dapat. What are some evidences that we can say that Jose Rizal was an idealist? Of course, he wanted that the Filipinos would be free from the bondage of the Spaniards. And although he actually thought that it would be difficult for us to be free, he even thought that at least we could have a representative to the Spanish Cortes. Oo. He actually was writing. He was a writer too, diba? He was also a journalist. He actually wrote together with La Solidaridad compadres, like Cristiano Lopez Haina. They wrote through La Solidaridad that this is what it is. We are the Philippines. We are a colony of Spain. But even if we are a colony of Spain, we still dream that we will be able to represent ourselves to the Spanish Cortes, that we will gain our independence at least man lang if we are going to be part of the Spanish Cortes. But even with such acts, Jose Rizal actually ignited the passion also of others, especially Andres Bonifacio and the KKK. The use of his discourses, his poems, his texts, and also Nolo Mi Tangere and El Filibusterismo actually brought the idealism also of the Filipinos before. That's why we had a revolution.
Diba? So therefore, we can say that Jose Rizal was a creative dream. Very creative. Oo. Kaya nga, I would say na yung sagot is letter D. Okay? Creative dreamer. Which would make him heroic for that. Ang idealismo ni Jose Rizal could have brought him to become a hero which we could be inspired from. Next slide, next question na po tayo, number 90. Powerful European countries supplied weapons to Afghanistan rebels who were fighting a war in the Middle East. Yan po. Again, a powerful European country supplied weapons to Afghanistan rebels who were fighting a war in the Middle East. So again, the situation is, merong European countries, sila yung nagbibigay ng mga weapons to the Afghan rebels. I hope you're familiar also to what is happening in Afghanistan. It's actually very sad to note, di ba, na yung mga Taliban is actually now leading the government, no? Tapos umalis yung presidente nila, o pinalayos yung presidente nila. So, again, this is the situation. Merong country na para bang parang devil's advocate, no, na sige, we are going to provide you with the weapons so that you can fight against the Middle East. But they were only supplying, and they are not the ones who are really fighting. Oh, think about that. Again, this European country is not the one who's fighting, but they are providing the weapons to these Afghan rebels who are fighting against Middle Eastern countries. So, based on the principle of moral discernment, what is most applicable based on the scenario? Is it double effect, lesser evil, material cooperation, or formal cooperation? Ang question na ito, dear teachers, is actually not Prof. Ed, but this is under morality. If you recall, saan ba natin na-discuss yung morality? Na-discuss natin yung morality under teaching profession. Diba? And if I remember it, ay parang hindi naman talaga in-depth yung discussion ng morality when we discuss it in teaching profession. But it is actually expected of us, dear teachers, that we have to be morally upright. Kaya nga, I think this question is asked, even if this is difficult. Mabuti sa amin in my school, because we're a Catholic school, so natutunan namin yung mga prinsipyo ng morality sa aming Christian morality subject. But for most of you siguro who actually don't have that subject, parang mahirap ito. So I hope I can help. Okay? Sige, let me discuss the different principles of moral discernment. Let's start with double effect. Teachers, I will discuss Tapos tell me what is the answer based on my discussion. Okay? Oo. Sige, when I say double effect, teachers, this means that a person or a country perhaps will be permitted to do an evil act because there's no other way. That's why it's called double effect. Kasi nga, it's both good and bad. But there are 4 sub-principles so that we can do double effect. Number 1, the act itself must be morally good or neutral. Number 2, the person must directly intend the good effect and will only tolerate the evil effect. Number 3, the good effect must be greater than or equal to the evil effect. And number 4, the good effect must not be obtained by means of the evil effect. Sa madaling salita, dear teachers, when we say double effect, it is a bad act because wala nang ibang pwedeng gawin. And it becomes good when we follow these 4 sub-principles of double effect. It should be morally good or neutral in the first place. It is intended to be good. The good effect must be greater than the bad effect. And that the good effect must not be obtained by means of the evil effect. And that there is no other choice but to do the sort of the evil acts, but it's not quite evil per se. Kaya nga, it's double effect. Sir, we don't understand. Can you give us an example? Yes, I'm going to give an example. Let's say abortion. Teachers, can you chat in the chat box, please? Let's have a moral discussion. When can we say that it's going to be morally right when can we say that it's morally right and we can follow double effect in abortion? Kailan nagiging mabuti? Kailan nagiging okay yung abortion? Can I ask for your opinion, please? This is actually a difficult subject, but I hope it's okay. I like that, Sir Chris. Sir Ermi, sorry, Chris. Ectopic yan, ectopic pregnancy. Oo. Correct. Yung ectopic pregnancy, di ba? Parang napapaisip natin, parang hindi naman maganda, no? If we're um, going to kill a child kasi murder siya, di ba? But on the contrary, if iisipin natin, napaka-dangerous ng ectopic pregnancy kasi nga, it will also endanger the life of the mother. So if life na ng mother at life na ng bata, who are we going to save? Di ba? Oo. Kaya, yes, correct. Also, I like this, Sir Jason. This is also about euthanasia. Diba? When can we say that we're going to let the person live? Tapos wala namang financial support na or hindi na kaya ng pamilya. So, it would already be difficult for that family to sustain hospital bills because we are just lengthening the life and then worsening the situation of the family. See? It's a question of morality, pero we have to think if the good, if there is an intention of good effect and that the good effect will still be greater than the evil effect. That's also possible, Regine, di ba? Magkakaroon lang ng abnormalities. We're looking at this in the scientific or in the medical perspective, di ba? Na mahirapan din yung bata at the end, di ba? So, might as well do it siguro. This is actually a very good example of the principle of double effect in use. Na, when we are torn, di ba, with a decision, if it's morally permitted to do something, will the good effect be greater than the bad effect? And we're talking about double effect. So double effect, yung clue nyo, teacher, is effect. Okay? Think about effect. Will it be good or not good? Okay? And therefore, it should be morally good so that we can do something which we think is bad or evil, pero there is a good intention to the acts. Okay, the principle of double effect. Next is principle of minus malo or lesser evil. Okay, or mal means bad, malus, malam. Okay, or malum, malas, that's actually bad. Minus, that's actually less. Okay, so minus malus or minus malum or lesser evil. And that's actually it. In the two evils, we select the lesser evil. And that's it. Diba? Basic principle is that we want to avoid evil, which at times means minimizing evil. So, if there are two evils that are present, we select the lesser evil. Okay? So, teachers, yung letter, yung again, double effect. There is a decision to be made, and we have to consider good effect and the evil effect. And therefore, the good effect must outweigh the evil effect so that there will be what we call double effect. That's the principle of double effect. In the principle of lesser evil, both actions are really evil. But we will be doing the lesser evil. What could be an example? For example, yung mga white lie natin. We lie because we're protecting something. Diba? So, let's do the lesser evil. Parang ganon. Okay? Maraming examples of lesser evil. I hope you get what I mean. Let's go now to the principle of cooperation. Slide. Yung principle of cooperation actually has three flavors or three varieties. Formal cooperation, immediate material cooperation, at saka mediate cooperation. Merong examples dyan. But, let's explain right away. When we say formal cooperation, yung tao talaga is cooperating formally in the immoral acts. And therefore, that person adopted also the evil intention of the person who he or she is working with. So, nag-cooperate siya. Kaya nga, cooperation. And therefore, the cooperation can lead to you being immorally bad. Immorally pa bad pa. Immorally not an immoral person. Kasi nga, O you cooperated. That's why an example in formal cooperation is you became an accomplice. Oo. Example, siguro you're an employee in the bank, tapos naging accomplice ka, ikaw yung nagsabi sa robber na ganito, ganyan. So, you cooperated. Diba? You cooperated. Accomplice ka talaga. Therefore, what you did was also immoral. Kasi nga, you cooperated formally to the act of evil. Kasi, you giving him or her blatantly and with your consent and with your choice, you gave all this knowledge, you give all these ideas with the knowledge that you're going to do bad. So therefore, you are cooperating formally. When we say immediate material cooperation, when one person actually performs an immoral action in cooperation with another person, and later on, it becomes formal cooperation. Parang confusing siya, sir. Actually, yung kaibahan ng formal cooperation at saka immediate material cooperation, formal cooperation, you're really doing it. You're really part of the act. Immediate material cooperation, you're not entirely part of the act, but you help in one way or another be part of the act. So example, Jan, sa example yan sa number 2, knowingly driving the getaway car at a bank robbery. Hindi ikaw yung nagre-rob ng bank, but you are the driver. And then alam mo that what you're driving is actually the robber of the bank. You only cooperated not in the act, you only cooperated in the material. Yung mga material na ginagamit so that the act of evil will be done. Okay? Again, formal cooperation, yung talagang akto at ginawa mo. Yung immediate material cooperation, you help through the materials and the resources that you could provide. Number 3 is immediate cooperation. Malapit lang yung kaibahan between immediate material at immediate material. Kasi this is just really about doing the action with the other, concurring in the evil intention of the other person is using the good or indifferent action of the cooperator as an occasion of or assistance to the immoral action. O parang, in this case, yung kaibahan lang is sa immediate material cooperation, alam mo that you're helping talaga with the act through the material and resources that you provided. Immediate material cooperation, you don't really know. It's actually your way of helping sana, but you don't really know that you're helping in an immoral action. Knowingly lending your car to someone who wants to rob a bank. Again, it could be mixed up, immediate or immediate. As long as you provided the material for the act of evil, then you are still cooperating. Diba? So, teachers, can you chat in the chat box na ano yung sagot? Is it A, principle of double effect? B, principle of lesser evil? C, principle of material cooperation? Or D, principle of formal cooperation? Yung sagot is letter C. It's already there in the slide. Remember that in the situation, yung European country supplied the weapons. And I think the European country knew that yung Afghan rebels are fighting against Middle Eastern countries. Even if they are not the ones who are really doing the acts of terrorizing, but they helped through resources and material. So the clue there is material cooperation. You cooperated through giving materials and resources. So you are still part of the immoral acts, even if you only gave them the materials, because you cooperated. Okay? Ay, opo, against own will nga pala. If against own will, that's where we can say immediate. Pero again, this is confusing. Kasi nga, even if it's not your fault and you did not do it on your will, the mere fact that you cooperated, this is still an immoral act. So you still have to pay for what you did, even if it wasn't intentional. But you could actually lessen the sentence. So that's where justice and law will come in, and we will base it on morality principles. Okay? Parang nagiging moral ethics tayo na subject, no? 92. Dan Michael, next question po tayo. Dan Michael goes to confession every day to be free from sin. Describe his moral attitude. A, callous. B, Pharisaical. Pharisaical teachers coming from the word Pharisees. Ano nga yung mga Pharisees during the time of Jesus? Although they are the ones who are knowledgeable of the laws of the church, sila yung may alam talaga kung ano yung tama o mali, di ba? But they were actually hypocrites. So I like the word that you used, Mayan. Oo, napaka-hipokrito ng mga taong ito. That's where we can say pharisaical. Okay, pharisaical meaning hypocritical. Okay? So we can say na pharisaical, they might be saying something but they're not really doing it. Oo. They are not acting what they preach. Diba? Or hypocritical yung mga ginagawa nila. Scrupulous, I hope you could find that online. Scrupulous teachers meaning very, shall I say, for the lack of the term right now, parang napaka-OC o napaka-obsessive-compulsive. Yung talagang dapat tama yan, tama lahat. Yung parang rito, ganyan, ito yun. Ay, hindi mali. Dapat perfect to the point na if you are scrupulous, you are now too detail-oriented to the point na hindi na rin maganda. Okay? Yung kalos, taken yan sa mga kalyo nyo. Saan nga yung maraming kalyo nyo? In my case, sa paa. Di ba? Marami tayong kalyo sa paa. In our feet. If you're already too kalos, correct Wendell, let's use that word, insensitive. Napaka-insensitive mo na. And letter D is strict. Strict is different from scrupulous. Kasi in scrupulous, you still have this tendency to be very critical. That's very critical to the point that you find what is wrong. That you find, you always find wrong in everything. That's being scrupulous. Strict is when you are too legal, okay, in following the books. You're too following or too obedient when it comes to law. That's being strict. Scrupulous, you always think of everything as bad. Meron talagang mali sa lahat ng ginagawa natin. Kaya nga nagiging critical ka. Pharisaical, you're being too hypocritical or hypocritical. Kalos, meaning insensitive. Wala ka ng gusto. Wala ka ng hindi mo na alam kung ano yung tama o mali. Let us discuss through this material. Okay, let's talk about conscience. Sa mga walang konsyensya dyan, I hope nakakatulong ito. Ay, joke lang. Here, next slide po. Kinds of conscience. Letter A, kinds of conscience referring to freedom. So meron tayong free conscience at saka unfree conscience. That's actually clear. Free conscience, you assume responsibility, okay, and attitude towards what you do. Unfree conscience, meaning your moral attitude or responsibility is hindered or impeded by influences. For example, by force, by a person above you, by fear, or by anger. So again, based on freedom, we have free conscience and unfree conscience. For example, nakikita natin sa mga movies or sa mga TV shows natin, may mga tao na parang fino-force sila na dapat nila patayin ito, bigyan sila ng baril, tapos sige, patayin mo yan. Kung hindi mo yan papatayin, ikaw yung papatayin ko. Diba? So that's an unfree conscience. Free conscience, you're doing it with all the responsibility that you have. Next, letter B. As to objective value, meron tayong correct conscience at saka erroneous conscience. Correct conscience, klaro yan, based on objective moral values and demands that one is striving to possess and to express one's own personal actions. Erroneous conscience, that is where there is lack of conformity between the objective values and the moral demands. We do things erroneously. Meron tayong erroneous conscience because they do not conform with what is actually expected. Culpable, next slide po. Culpable conscience refers to one is in error through one's own fault and is therefore responsible for such an erroneous state of conscience. Culpable would refer to you did something wrong and you know that what you did is wrong. Okay? Inculpable, one is in error through no fault of one's own, having erred in good faith while making reasonable attempts to form a correct conscience. Inculpable, you did something wrong, but it might not be out of what you really did. It's not your fault. Is it possible? May ginawa tayong mali, pero hindi natin kasalanan. In some cases, meron. And you can be having an inculpable conscience. And this could also turn out to be good or not good. Okay? Next, dito tayo focus. Moral attitude. One is lax. Lax, conscience would refer to being lax, relax, meaning you have no effort or you are careless to follow the correct conscience. Okay? You don't internalize your moral values. But this is also not wrong. This might also mean, teachers, na lax yung conscience mo, you could actually change whatever it is that you act or your attitude towards something, towards an act, if it's moral or immoral. So you're lax. Strict, this is actually opposite to lax. You really follow by the book what is wrong and what is not wrong. When the conscience ends to judge moral obligations too harshly, especially in an excessively legalistic way, adhering more to the letter than the spirit of the law. There are some cases, teachers, di ba, na we can say that napaka-harsh naman ng law. Oo. Kasi alam naman natin that the person did it in good faith, pero binigyan pa rin siya ng punishment, 3 years, kumbaga, siguro, in prison because of what he did. Even if he acted on good faith. So we can say that it's a strict conscience. And actually, judges are supposed to follow a strict conscience. Kasi if ever we're going to be lax with our justice, then anyone could just change or bend the law. Diba? When we say scrupulous, again, scrupulous, we tend to judge sin to be present where in fact there is none. Kahit na walang mali, a scrupulous conscience will always think that meron talagang mali sa ginawa niya. Talagang mali. So that's a scrupulous conscience. Pharisaical conscience, self-righteous conscience. Meaning, you know that it is wrong, but actually your actions don't actually speak to what you actually believe. Own moral evaluation is concerned is wrong or faulty, but you tend to be judgmental to others. So bawal judgmental, okay? If you're judgmental and then you're also wrong by yourself, then you are Pharisaical. This is actually similar to the situation in which maraming mga kilala natin na pumupunta ng church tapos nagbibigay pa ng mga biblical quotes pero hindi naman talaga sila conscientious or moral, di ba? So napaka hipokrita nila, di ba? So they have a Pharisaical conscience. So nakaka-relate si Ma'am Jen. Clear conscience, next slide po, is clear, di ba? Malinis ang konsyensya ko. Let's go to the next slide, Miss Clarissa. So again, number 5 is clear conscience, according to moral attitude. So clear conscience would mean that your conscience is clear. You are free from doing bad acts. You're always internalizing your values and you know what is wrong from what is right. Callous conscience is the worst type of conscience, just like yung kalyo. Tapos if marami na kayong kalyo sa paa, then you wouldn't feel na masakit. Diba? Or if you have been hurt a lot of times, you would have a callous heart. Then you just become a player and you're going to hurt other people's hearts as well. Kasi naging callous ka na, naging insensitive ka na. And that's the worst type of conscience. Kasi you're going to do things. Pag may kayo, insensitive na talaga. Ganon. Hugot. Hugot ka dyan, Ma'am Reggie. Callous again is a wrong type of conscience. Again, because it is slow to sensitivity, you have no conscience at all. You're going to do wrong things and you wouldn't feel a thing. Kasi nga, you become callous already. As to degrees of certitude. Certitude, teachers, from the word certified, certain, meaning it's certain, it's correct. Tama. First is perplexed. Perplexed conscience is when you have a conscience, but you don't really know if it's correct or not. Therefore, you refrain from acting. Again, perplexed is you are confused. And when you are perplexed, so you actually decide to abstain or to refrain from doing anything. So you become amoral. Amoral meaning not entirely moral, but not also immoral. You are like in the center, you're abstaining because of the perplexity that you receive or you have. You're confused, therefore you're not going to do anything. You cannot make a good choice kasi you're perplexed. Doubtful. Doubtful meaning you don't really know what happened, but you're trying to find evidences so that you could be certain if something is correct or not. Okay? So that is a doubtful conscience. Probable conscience, this is the third level. Levels ito ha, from perplexed, not being able to do a good choice, doubtful, you're doing a choice but you're not really sure. Perhaps you're still looking for evidences. You lack evidence. Okay? Probable, it might be turning out to good, but still, it's not yet kind of formed. Okay? Oo. Hindi pa siya sa level na tama, but at least it's getting there. Certain is the type of conscience in which it's really certain that it's good. Okay? Oo. Levels yan. From something that is low, perplexed to high, and that is certain conscience. Now, the answer, teachers, ano yung sagot, teachers, sa situation kanina? Dan Michael goes to confession every day to be free from sin. So, the situation is, parang tingin ni Michael na parang palagi siyang mali. And because palagi siyang mali, he's going to confess every day para malinis yung konsensya niya. So, what conscience is that? Next slide po. The answer is letter C, scrupulous. Kasi nga, tingin ni Michael, palagi siyang mali. Okay? So, naging scrupulous siya. Even if walang mali, tingin niya may mali. Okay? So, that's being scrupulous. Again, review, callous, insensitivity. Therefore, even if he's going to do right or wrong, wala siyang pake. Pharisaical, he's going to do something bad. Even if alam niya kung ano yung tama, ironically, hindi niya ginagawa yung tamang dapat gawin under morality. Scrupulous, akala mo wala, pero meron. Ganon. Scrupulous, tama yan. That's a good hint. Scrupulous, you are very scrupulous. You're very critical to the point na you think there is something wrong even if wala naman. Okay? Kaya nga si Dan Michael will always go to confession every day kasi parang tingin niya he's always at fault every day. Strict, meaning this is a kind of conscience na by the book. Nagawin ko ito kasi ito yung sabi, based on article number o gano'n. Nagiging strict ka. And it doesn't sound good if you're too legalistic on things. 93. Teachers, sagot na tayo diretso ha. Spanish friars taught religion but were not known for following their vow of poverty because they amassed land properties of the natives. How can they be described? Scrupulous, strict, pharisaical, callous. What's the situation? Spanish friars, they taught religion, they should be poor, they should follow the vow of poverty, pero ang dami nilang land properties. So the answer is letter C. Tama. Pharisaical. Very good. 94. Next question po tayo. If a criminal shows no sensitivity to the welfare of other people, how will she be described? If a criminal, wala nang sensitivity, hindi na alam kung tama o mali. Baka yung criminal is actually anong tawag ito? Yung serial killer. Diba? Tapos wala siya pakialam kung tama o mali yung ginawa niya. And that is letter D, callous. Very good. Next question po. Very good. Ay, salamat. You understood the types of conscience. 96. The United States decided to drop the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in order to prevent mass deaths. Should the Japanese invade lands? What is the degree of moral certitude of this statement? Again, degree of certitude. The levels are probable, doubtful, perplexed, perplexed, doubtful, probable, certain. Perplexed, doubtful, probable, certain. From low level, that's perplexed, to high level, certain. Certain, we really are certain that it's true, it's correct, tama siya. Okay? And it's really according to morality. To moral principles na tama siya. Pero yung sa gitna, yung doubtful at saka yung probable, tingin nila ito yung nakakabuti, but we are still not sure talaga if it's correct or not. Kaya nga, we have to find evidences pa, that's doubtful, and probable, parang tingin natin tama, but there is still really something wrong with it. It's just that we decided on it kasi it should be the right thing to do. Okay?
Mm-mm. What is the degree of moral certitude of this statement? The answer is letter C, perplexed. Oo. Bakit perplexed? Di ba sabi mo, sir, yung perplexed, yung wala namang ginawa? Actually, I'm confused with this as well. But, if you come to think of it, naging perplexed din yung US kasi this is the last straw. Oo. Yung, ito na talaga yung gagawin. Oo. Parang, yun na lang, yung bombahin na lang, lahat yun na straw, ito na yung gagawin. Oo. Kasi, they could have not done anything just to end everything. They did it so that wala na. And true enough, pagkatapos nilang bombahin yung Hiroshima and Nagasaki, tapos na. It did not even end formally. Diba? Oo. It just ended. Kaya nga, perplexed yung morality. According to certitude. It's not wrong to the point that it's not wrong, it's not right. It depends on how we are going to look at it. Siguro, this would have been a better question if we are looking at yung principle kanina, if it's double effect, lesser evil, yung material cooperation, at saka yung formal cooperation. And the answer here could have been lesser evil. Oo. Kasi this is still evil, pero they did the lesser evil. Kasi marami pang evil na dapat gawin. They could actually have bombed pa other places and other areas. Lesser evil. But still, we know it's wrong. Diba? Hindi pa rin yun maganda. They bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Next question. Please give me more time, ha? Pasensya po, but we're almost done. 95. In order to prepare students well, teacher Rita believes that students must be told that study is really hard work. What philosophy reflects teacher Marita's attitude? Teachers, again, we're talking about hard work, very academic. So ano nga yung sabi ni Sir Ayo? If it's academic, ano yung philosophy natin? If it's very academic, longer hours of learning, mahilig tayo sa assignments at saka sa core requirements and schoolwork. So the answer is letter A. Tama. Essentialism. Very good. Perennialism is about the past. Progressivism is about change. Reconstructionism is about change for the future. Okay? Don't forget those clues or techniques or words that we could match up with the philosophies. 97 tayo, Miss Clarissa, and that is the last question, I think. Hindi pa pala. Last 3 questions. 97. In order to avenge his embarrassment, teacher Chris decided to flunk a student. What guideline about using punishment did teacher Chris violate? A. Punishing immediately in an emotional state. B. Using double standards punishing. C. Doing the impossible. D. Holding a grudge and not starting with a clean slate. Again, situation. Teacher Chris was embarrassed, and therefore he decided to fail or flunk the student. So, what guideline did teacher Chris violate? Actually, mali ang question eh. Oo. Pero you get the point. So, ano yung maling ginawa ni teacher Chris? Is it A, punishing immediately? B, using double standards, doing the impossible, or holding a grudge? Now, teachers, we're talking about embarrassment. Na-embarrass si teacher. And he wouldn't punish if hindi siya na-embarrass. Therefore, teacher Chris has a grudge and he wants to do revenge. Kaya may grudge siya. It's not about emotional state. So we're talking about punishing immediately in emotional state. This means that galit na galit si teacher, and therefore he's going to punish right away because of his or her anger na hindi niya inisipan. But here, holding a grudge. Kasi nga, a grudge, and you're using your grudge to be able to punish the student. Mm-hmm. When we punish, we should have a clean slate. We should be objective in actually what we give as a punishment. Hindi naman objective yung pag-fail ni student just because na-embarrass siya. Although there is an emotional state there that is related, but this is really about starting with a clean slate, about being objective. Okay? Kaya nga, yung sagot your teachers is letter D. I hope you can follow my chain of thought. Yung basis ko is actually yung principles of punishment. At dapat positive yung punishment eh. Meaningful yung consequence, meaningful or objective yung consequence, don't argue, use problem solving, etc. It's actually in the next line. Meron tayong mga principles according to positive psychology on positive punishment. And actually, dear teachers, it's better we don't punishment. Diba? We focus on ano nga yung positive and negative reinforcement. Diba? And limit or don't use punishment. Okay? So again, sagot dito 97 is letter D. Let's go to the next question, 102. Ms. Clarissa, please. Last two questions na tayo. Which of the statements below relates to beliefs and ideals when inculcating moral maturity among students? Clue natin dito, teachers, is beliefs and ideals. This is actually confusing kasi these are all about moral maturity. Promoting human equality, refraining from prejudice action, avoiding deception and dishonesty, respecting freedom of conscience. Diba? They're all about moral maturity. Now, let's do power of elimination. We cannot do letter D. Hindi letter D. Kasi, when we are just going to respect freedom of the conscience, because conscience is free, the conscience might not be correct or might not be mature. So, we're talking about ideal eh. So, idealism tayo, okay, in this state. We need to be ideal. Dapat tama, okay, yung moral maturity. So, hindi pwede letter D. Okay? Although we need to respect the freedom of conscience of our students, but if we're talking about beliefs and ideas, dapat merong tama. It's not just free. So there should be something that is followed. So tatlo na lang, A, B, and C. We cannot do letter C. Hindi letter C yung sagot. Bakit? Kasi deception and dishonesty, although alam naman natin mali sila, but deception and dishonesty are not the only beliefs and ideas that are being focused when it comes to moral maturity. Again, when we talk about beliefs and ideals, it should be general. So if we're just going to focus on deception and dishonesty, although dapat naman silang i-avoid, they are not really related right away to moral maturity. Diba? If dishonest ka doesn't really mean that you are immature. Diba? And the other way around. So hindi let's see. Dalawa na lang. Promoting human equality and refraining from prejudiced action. Now, yung basis ko dito is how do we describe morality? Next slide po. Morality is a system of beliefs about what is right and good compared to what is wrong or bad. Again, we're talking about right and good and not just really about wrong or bad. Okay? Moral development, therefore, refers to changes in moral beliefs as a person grows older and gains maturity. So moral beliefs are related to but not identical with moral behavior. It is possible to know the right thing to do but not actually do it. Possible yan. Diba? Now, if we're going to read the entire text, actually, lumabas sa description of moral development and moral maturity about fairness, justice, equality. Oo. Equal shares, lumabas dyan. Oo. Yung equal time. Yung fair dapat sa mga taong ganito at fair dapat sa mga taong ganito. Dapat yung taong gumagawa ng mabuti, dapat nakukuha nila yung mabuti. Yung mga taong gumagawa ng masama, dapat makuha rin nila kung ano yung hindi kaya-aya na dapat sa kanila. So we are trying to attain equality. Oo. Kaya nga, yung sagot, dear teachers, is letter A. Okay? Oo. If we're talking about idealism when it comes to morality, we need to equate good and right from what is bad. Kaya nga, next slide po, yung tamang sagot is letter A. It's about equality. Human equality. And part of human equality is to refrain prejudice action, avoid deceptions, respecting freedom. These are already specific. Yung letter A actually is very general. Oo. So one way to look at it, dear teachers, so aside from looking at what is different and analyzing them, is to really locate alin yung naiba. In our case, we're able to locate what is different
from specific and general. Letter A is general, B, C, and D are very specific actions. Last question. Hi, salamat. Last question na tayo, dear teachers. This kind of teacher believes that teaching is not just about dumping knowledge into the empty minds of learners. Instead, it is about helping students create knowledge and meaning. A, constructivist, B, essentialist, C, existentialist, D, pragmatist. Alam natin yung essentialist, academic. Okay? So if it focuses on academic, long calendar, maraming academic requirements, that's very essentialist, very academic or school. Existentialist, about choice of students. So hindi naman about choice situation sa itaas. So dalawa na lang yung choice natin, constructivist at saka pragmatist. Pragmatist is focused on being practical. So ituturo natin kung ano yung practical. So pragmatist is related to progressivism. So yung sagot is letter A, constructivist. Construct would refer to mental constructs. And we could help create knowledge of our learners when we provide them with self-learning strategies, strategies of facilitating learning, etc. Because as a constructivist teacher, we believe that a curriculum should be built around how students will be able to create knowledge by themselves. And as teachers, we are just going to facilitate that what they are learning is according to what is to be learned. And if ever they're going to be different from the past, then we are going to let them go back. Oo. Kung nawala sila sa daan, then ibibigyan natin yung tamang daan para they will be on the right track. Baby, I was born this way. Okay? Ganon. Okay? So that answer is letter A, constructivism, creating knowledge and helping them create knowledge and meaning. Okay? That's it.